This is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Allstate Fairless Hills Tom LaCroix, and Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, Capital Grill, Ventresca's LTD, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Great to be with you. We are at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. Dave Spadaro, Mr. Insider, and once again, here I am, Mr. Outsider, peering in.
And Merrill, we're still alive here. The NFC playoffs continue this weekend at Lincoln Financial Field after this past weekend's outstanding Eagles victory over the Green Bay Packers.
Well, any win is outstanding.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you going to qualify this win as
but
less than outstanding?
I did say on the air I gave them about a B-.
Yes. Well,
but the important thing is that they won. You win or you lose.
It's outstanding to win in the playoffs. That's all that matters.
Well, it's great. It is great. They got the job done, and that's what's important.
Is there a ... but coming up from you?
No, there's no but. But, okay, I'll give you a ... but. But if they play similarly against the Rams, the playoffs will be over.
I'm not sure I agree with that. The defense was absolutely on point. 4 takeaways. If the defense plays like that, standing on its own, don't you think the Eagles advance and are going to be very difficult to beat at any stage by any team?
Well, I think the defense is
the offense didn't turn the ball over.
That's right. They didn't make the critical mistakes, and they came up with 3 interceptions and the fumble recovery. But on the other hand, I don't think the Rams are going to play like the Packers did. I thought the Packers looked very, very weak. I thought Jordan Love was ineffective, totally ineffective. He had green grass ahead of him and never thought about running, and his passing was off. This week, they're going to be facing one of the most gifted and experienced quarterbacks in football in Matthew Stafford.
Merrill, I agree. I was very surprised that Jordan Love played so poorly. He looked so indecisive. He didn't throw the ball with accuracy, with confidence. The offensive structure hampered by, no doubt, the loss of wide receivers. They were down to their 4th and 5th and 6th wide receivers. The offensive line handily beaten by the Eagles, primarily with a 4-man pass rush. Josh Jacobs was contained, and the Eagles' defense dominated. I agree with all that. I will tell you this about the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll talk about it during the course of the evening here. I know they won last night, and I know the score looks good, but boy, oh boy, Matthew Stafford's one of those guys. He can get you really hot, really gets into a groove, great rhythm, all the pre-snap motion, spreading the ball around, getting it out to the wide receivers, and then they go dry. And last night, they went dry. 10 points in the first quarter, 14 points in the second quarter, only 3 points in the second half. And I'm looking and I'm going, the Minnesota Vikings figured it out, as the Eagles did in that first matchup back in November. The Rams came down the field twice. They turned the ball over the first time. They scored, and then they were shut out 5 straight possessions without a first down in the second quarter. So I agree that the challenge will be more formidable on Sunday, but I really believe in the Eagles' defense.
See, the big thing is turnovers kill, and turnovers immediately killed the Packers. Imagine
fumbling
the opening kickoff, and I think the Eagles were lucky because it looked like it was recovered by the Packers. But they got it, and they made it count. We are very, very lucky to have with us tonight a great football authority who covers the Eagles for ESPN, and he will make sense of all of this, and that is Tim McManus. Tim, great to have you with us.
It's great to be with you guys. Good to see you, Merrill, Dave, especially in a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah.
The Eagles are going into the divisional round. This is going to be fun.
Do you think that every city, guys, is as scrutinizes so intently a 22-10 victory as Philadelphia does with the Philadelphia Eagles?
I don't know that every team is as fortunate to do that, or city is as fortunate to do that, where, just the fact of getting into the playoffs can be a long haul. I mean, you look at other organizations around. I mean, the Jets are the first one to pop into mind, right? It's like if they were to even get to anywhere close to this stratosphere, they would be thrilled. But it's the way that it always is in Philly. I mean, you diagnose it and dissect it because we're all so passionate about it.
I got up on Monday morning, and WIP carries a syndicated commentary, lasts about 30 seconds, from Boomer Esiason. And his commentary went like this. The Eagles survived. They beat the Green Bay Packers despite the struggles of Jalen Hurts. That was his commentary. I don't think he struggled that obviously. Look, it wasn't one of his hottest games. He's coming off of 3 weeks of inactivity from a game standpoint, and still he never turned over the football. He was over 50%, close to 70% passing, and he had a quarterback rating of 111. How bad can that be?
Well, I think it was a really conservative approach
offensively.
It
was the approach.
Yeah, I think it was in the approach. And there's different factors that go into that. One is the layoff for Hurts, the fact that he was coming off of the concussion. Also, A.J. Brown didn't practice for 2 days. I mean, they listed him as limited the first day, but he was there for a 5-minute cameo, and he left. And those are the install days on Wednesday and Thursday. And so you really didn't have that time to sync up offensively.
Yeah, but he had more time to read that week.
Merrill's just not going to let that one go.
That's right. And so I feel like they had a good grasp of defensively that they could take care of what the Packers were offering. And you could see that in the play calling, the 3rd and longs where they would just hand off rather than going for it.
Or Saquon Barkley's screen on the one early. That was tough to watch.
Exactly.
Also.
When the Eagles lost to Washington the last time they played them, I could feel things tumbling down. And I had even though they could have wrapped it up with a little toss to Devontae Smith, I had the feeling that the roof could fall in at the end of that game. I just didn't like the way it was trending. At no time during this game did I ever think the Eagles could lose.
I will admit to being a bit nervous. After the Eagles did not capitalize on the Zach Bond interception late first half and then came out with a really flat offensive series on the first possession of the second half, I thought to myself, boy, oh boy, there's been too many games that we've been through where the Eagles didn't put a team away. And then Green Bay scored, and it got a little bit nervous. I will tell you, I was a little bit concerned. And then, of course, the Eagles go down the field, and Dallas Goedert makes the play, and the Eagles score a touchdown. Everybody's feeling good. But the inconsistency from the offense, and I agree that it was really conservative.
It was. That was the game plan.
But what was so weird about it, Jalen came out and completed his first 6 passes.
Yeah.
And then seemed reluctant to pull the trigger. And I remember the years of Donovan McNabb and the criticisms of Donovan, but what Donovan did so well was he would not turn the football over. And I felt that Jalen was playing a bit of Donovan McNabb-esque football, which is not a bad thing, but with such high expectations, with such a potent offense, with so many weapons, we expect more from this offense. And there were receivers who were open that the ball didn't get to them.
But, each time Green Bay scored, back came Jalen, and he led them downfield. He made a throw that I don't think enough people appreciate. He was running dead left and then whipped his body around and put the ball in the hands of Devontae Smith on that sideline. That's a major league throw.
And that's one thing you hear from Nick Sirianni every time he is asked about Hurts, especially if he's coming off of quote-unquote down performances. He's a winner. And it does seem like every time where there is a bit of all right, we need you to step up here. I remember going in, there was this stretch of 90 minutes of actual time that he went in between completing a pass, and he had only had 36 total yards in the game to that stage. And then they needed a drive, and he completed each one of them for 61 yards and a touchdown. So there is obviously that in him. I think there's just the bigger question, because this is all how it's being sort of judged and framed. We recognize how good of a team this is, and it's all with the goal of can they get to the Super Bowl and can they win it. Can this passing game, which has had its share of slumps and down moments throughout the course of this season, be counted on when they need it. They didn't necessarily need it against Green Bay, but they're going to need it at some point.
I don't believe that there is a stage too big for Jalen Hurts. At every level, in high school he was a state champion. At Alabama he was a star performer. At Oklahoma, He was runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. And in the NFL, there's only one quarterback over the last 4 years with more wins than Jalen Hurts, and that's Patrick Mahomes. He is a winner, and that cuts through everything.
Merrill, you don't need to convince me. I love the guy. I just think that we, as a whole, we look at this and say we want more. And it is important, as Tim talks about, to remember the context in which we're speaking. And you look around the league and you see what Justin Herbert did with the Los Angeles Chargers.
He's the darling of the internet.
And he's
you
done
hear about
absolutely
Justin
nothing.
Herbert.
Yeah.
Herbert, you think he is Clark Kent transformed into Superman.
Yeah.
But he's never won a postseason game.
Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. Bo Nix celebrated for one drive to open the game and then did nothing after that. Well, the way last night Sam Darnold tripped over himself, couldn't get the football out. The way quarterbacks play in the playoffs dictate to me who wins the game. And the quality of quarterbacks has just taken a big jump up. From Jordan Love, who at the end of the day may have been the most overrated quarterback in all of the NFL this season, to now Matthew Stafford, who is capable of really carrying an offense. And then potentially to Jared Goff or Jaden Daniels, who both of whom have had great seasons.
Well, Matthew Stafford is the real thing. Matthew Stafford, a couple of years back, won the Super Bowl. He's a great quarterback. He suffered for a while with bad Detroit teams, but he is a absolutely first-rate quarterback. He's got an amazing arm. He can move. He can diagnose. Nobody reads a defense better than Matthew Stafford.
And you can tell when you talk to the coaching staff and when you talk to players in the locker room, and we went through this process when they played the Rams in Week 12, that the respect for him is real and genuine.
Yeah.
And they recognize him as a serious threat. And part of it is because of just how quickly he sees things and is able to diagnose and get rid of the ball. And if you look at that playoff game against the Vikings, they have a good defense, but because he is so quick in getting the ball out, the pass rush doesn't have the chance to get on him a lot of the times. And you could even see it in that first game that the Eagles had against the Rams, the first couple drives where he's pulling them and picking them apart. He's very capable of doing that kind of stuff.
How old is Matthew Stafford, Dave? Do you know?
I don't. I'm going to guess he was 30, 33, 34, as we have our statistician here. Our research man, Chris Irmer, looking it up.
I'd say he's about
34?
32, 33.
I feel like he's a little bit
Since
older
he came out of the University of Georgia.
Yeah, I feel like he's a little bit older. He had a lot of years in Detroit and then has found a great home in 36 years of age.
36 years old.
Yes.
Now, that is 10 years older than Jalen Hurts. Can you imagine? Jalen Hurts is only 26 years old. Can you imagine what he'll be like at 30? Because this is a guy Jalen Hurts is very, very bright and very, very dedicated. He works every day to get better. And no stage is too big. I thought, to be honest with you, he outperformed Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 57.
And you know what, Merrill? A lot of what we're seeing, I think, is what he's being asked to do. If you go back to the Week 5 bye, he went into that game with 7 turnovers. It was the second most in the league at that time, behind only Will Levis. And they transformed what they were doing offensively, philosophically, leaned into the run game, recognized that they had the potential of a good defense, and they wanted Hurts to limit the turnovers. And I think that was revealed in a big way in that Packers game. I think it just becomes a point of, like, are they reeling him in a little bit too much?
I think they did going into this game. Now, the other thing is you're talking about the turnovers. At the bye, the Eagles were -6. That means, for Carol, who's here tonight, probably wondering what turnover differential means. That's my sister. Turnover differential is how many times you take the ball away compared with how many times you give the ball away. So at that point, the Eagles were -6 going into the bye after 4 games. They are now plus at the end of the regular season. You had the 3 last week. They're 14-4, so they're like plus 15.
Yeah, plus 15.
But to the end of the season, they were plus 11. I mean, that says something. The Rams, by the way, on the season are only plus 6.
Look, the question is if the Eagles, fall behind in a playoff game and need to score points quickly or teams are stacking the box and effectively taking Saquon out of the offense. When the Eagles need the passing game, will Jalen Hurts deliver? I think we all agree that, yes, we've seen him deliver. We saw it throughout his career. We've seen it this year with Pittsburgh. Played well in that game. That was really the last. They took that game, took the momentum from that game. Were playing great football early in the game against Washington. Then he goes out. Can he get back to that level in these playoffs?
You know, when Jalen Hurts first came here, and he was a second-round draft choice, and he still wasn't starting in that rookie year. They were going through the failing days of Carson Wentz. Doug Peterson and I talked every single week. I was able to have access to Doug. And one of the things Doug told me at that time was, Jalen Hurts has a remarkable arm. There's not a pass that he can't throw. There's not a place on the field where he can't hit a receiver. He said he has great arm talent. Then I hear all the wizards on the experts saying he lacks arm talent. And somebody said he has a marginal arm. I mean, all the columns that we read about him, marginal arm.
Yeah, Tim.
There's nothing. No, it wasn't Tim. You never said that, did you?
I don't think that was fair. I don't think.
No. Well, look, I like Elliot Shore-Parks. He's a terrific young reporter, does a great job. But I remember several years ago when Justin Fields was coming out of college, out of Ohio State, he thought that the Eagles should move on with Jalen Hurts and draft Justin Fields. How would that have worked out? And it's not just Elliot. There were a lot of people, because I like Elliot, and he does a good job. But a lot of people were questioning, can he throw the football? Well, he can do whatever he wants to do.
And I think that's what fans should lean back on, is we have seen it before with Hurts. You brought up the biggest stage possible, where when he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And, he's had an MVP caliber season. And if you go back to the Pittsburgh game, remember, he sits down and he addresses the media and he says, is that what you guys wanted to see?
Is that what you want?
They dusted off the pass game when they needed to and showed that they can do it. So it's definitely within them.
Did you see the ball that he threw for the first touchdown of the game to Jahan Dotson? That was 100 miles an hour. I mean, that ball trailed Sparks.
You're spending a lot of time trying to convince. Why is this? Are you feeling very offended?
Yes.
That some out there
I'm very offended
that people have
I
criticized Jalen Hurts.
Yes, you cannot bang my.
Look, the fact is, if the Eagles' defense plays as it has played, and certainly had to play as it played Sunday, and the Eagles don't turn the ball over, those two factors alone make them a very difficult team to beat.
Okay.
And then if you have Jalen raise his game a bit and still run the football, I'm not sure any team can win out there against the Eagles.
Well, then you're talking
I'm
about...
feeling great about Sunday.
You're thinking about another Lombardi trophy.
Yes.
I'm a couple of steps behind you, but 1 week at a time. All right, we will be back with more of Pro Football Report right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour. With unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. only at Chickies and Pete's.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for AutoPay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill on this frigid Tuesday night as we get set for the Eagles and the Rams on Sunday. Dave, this is going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I was Merrill. You and I talked about it, and we'll go through it later in the show. Our picks from last week, but I was really clearly, wondering how the move for the Rams from Los Angeles to Arizona would impact their preparation, their focus for the wild card game last night, and also wondering how Minnesota would bounce back after a very tough loss to the Detroit Lions the week before. And I got it wrong, and I was really impressed with the way that the Rams took control of that game from the beginning, the way they dominated the line of scrimmage defensively, and the way they just jumped out on the Vikings and never let up. And so I think the Rams are a different football team than the one we saw back in November.
See, the thing is, Tim, that their greatest weapon is number 18, Justin Jefferson. And he finished the night with 5 catches for 54 yards or something.
Well, Sam Darnold, there was a big question, I think, surrounding them all season, even though they had 14 wins of once it gets to the big time, is he going to be able to elevate or stay the way that he has?
But he had some great games.
He had some good ones, but, you saw it against Detroit, especially when they got down in the red zone, some big moments. He wasn't able to cash in. And then in this one, he just seems like he lost it. And it looked more like the New York Jets version of Darnold than the one that O'Connell had gotten out of him in Minnesota.
And when these kinds of games illustrate the difference between a quote-unquote big game in October and a game that in January can make the difference between a 1 seed and a 5 seed, and it's called pressure. And Sam Darnold could not handle the pressure.
But Nick Sirianni was asked last week, do you do anything differently to prepare for the playoffs? And he said no. He said we won 14 games this season. We've got to do the same things we did each and every week. And I want the players coming into this game thinking that it's just another game. Don't push harder. Play within yourself. Play the way you've been playing every week. But the playoffs come, and the heart beats faster, and there is more adrenaline, and the games move at a little bit quicker pace.
And I would argue that coaches coach differently in the playoffs than they do.
You think?
Absolutely. The calls you make on fourth down, the risks that you take, your season is over if you lose the game. It has to change the way that you are making decisions in a moment's notice. And so I think Nick and Doug Peterson was a great example of that in Super Bowl 52. Philly is something that took an extraordinary amount of courage to call. And the Eagles, the whole end of the season, going forward on fourth downs, being super aggressive. Last night, Minnesota went for a lot of fourth downs. They knew that they were behind on the scoreboard. They were going for it, knowing that a loss ended the season. And I think that Darnold felt the pressure. And there was one pass, and Troy Aikman made a note of it. It was this little flare pass, just a quick little flare pass to a running back. And he just, you could just kind of see him just holding on. And there are other passes there. Guys were open in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
there was a receiver in a crossing route.
Yeah.
He was just gripping it to look, Merrill. When you're playing now I know you're a much different level of golfer than most people, but
not most. I went out with Tim this year, and Tim almost beat me.
Yeah, we were neck and neck there, man.
but in those big shot moments, how do you respond? And
I usually choke.
There you go.
I can be dependent on the Mr. 2-foot putt.
There you go.
But that's why I understand why Sirianni has the messaging that he has, because already for a lot of these people, like, the adrenaline is up, and your heart, if you're a younger player, can be in your throat, and so you want to have that sort of steady hand, consistent messaging. But I also think it speaks to, you mentioned Hurts and all the big moments he's been in, and I feel like this roster is kind of full of that, right? I mean, it's got Alabama guys, it's got Georgia guys, it's got a lot of players who have been through on the biggest stage some of the biggest moments.
I have to laugh because Dave brought up the Philly play in the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you the story if I haven't told it to you already. They're down at the 1-yard line, and there's 1 second left or 2 seconds left on the clock, and I said, they've got to take the 3 points because otherwise there could be a tremendous momentum shift. It will be damaging, and plus they're going to kick off to the Patriots to begin the second half. So what do I know? They bring in Corey Clements. They take Nick Foles into motion, and the next thing you know, it happens with the pass going to Nick Foles in the end zone, and Mike Quick turns to me and says, "That's why you're up here, and Doug is down there." And when I saw Doug at the after party, I said, "I've got to tell you, that was the worst call I've ever seen." But it works. It worked. It still doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there was a game. Now, I don't know if you remember, Tim. Dave remembers the 4th and 26 game where the Eagles beat. You remember that game?
Fred X.
Okay.
Sure.
Do you remember that right before halftime, the Green Bay Packers had the ball at the Eagles' 1-yard line? Similar thing. And Mike Sherman was the Packers coach, and he said, "Go for it." And the Eagles stacked them up, and when they ran off the field, you could feel that the Eagles were this high and that the Packers were frustrated, thinking about what did we lose. And these are the things that stick out of my frame of reference, and they come to me at times like that.
And I think it's important that the coach understands the flow of the game and the team, the opponent. Doug Peterson recognized in February of 2018, that the New England Patriots were moving the football, that the Eagles needed to score points. And so settling for 3 there, would have made you feel good going into the halftime with a slightly larger lead. Pulling out that play and executing it changed the whole dynamic of the mentality of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do you think Nick Sirianni has become a little more conservative as this season has gone on? I do. I think the things that he did earlier in the season, going for it on the first drive against Atlanta and the game they lost, the second game of the season, where they could have put on 3 points and taken the lead in that game. I think he is a little more, I don't want to say cautious, but a little bit more conservative.
I think that's right. And honestly, I think he's got a read on what this team is. This is a defense-first team, and that's one of the last things I would have thought I would be saying when this year started out. I thought that Vic Fangio could raise the floor, and I didn't realize that the ceiling was going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Wasn't it you who said to me in training camp, if only Fangio will realize that Zach Bourne belongs inside and that Nolan Smith can really play?
Yeah, it was me and Fangio on the sideline having that conversation, and that changed the course of history. But
Little did we know the things we learn on the show.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, I think that for the most part, it has paid off to not put the ball in harm's way offensively. But I also think that this team is trained to know that, have the expectation of you're going for fourth down, and that makes a big difference. I mean, you see some of these teams that they get into a big spot on a fourth down, and they haven't been doing it all year, and it's like, now we got to burn a timeout. We're not sure about ourselves. So I think when the moment comes, at least the team will be prepared for it.
Dave, what do you think the Rams do to prevent Saquon Barkley from having another crazy game? I mean, he ran for 255 yards in Los Angeles.
Well, I don't know. I certainly they will maybe change the way they attack the line of scrimmage. Maybe they'll stack the box differently. They're probably not going to have their cornerback Witherspoon, who suffered a hamstring injury last night. That's a big loss.
But I hear Higbee may come back.
Okay.
That was the latest.
He went to the hospital with a chest injury.
And he's okay.
Yeah, he's expected to play.
Okay,
yeah.
Good for him. He's a really good player, and that's a big piece of their offense. And that'll
number
be
89.
Yeah.
And they didn't have him when the Eagles played in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He missed the first 14 games.
Did he play? Yes,
No.
You're right. You're correct. Last night he had 5 catches. He led the team with 5 catches. But, Merrill, I think at the end of the day it comes down to man on man, and I'm not sure that their physicality can match up with the Eagles' physicality. And I don't know how many times you want to scheme against Saquon Barkley. And this is where, I think this is where our expectations of Jalen have to be a bit higher. If a team is stacking the box, as I believe the Rams will do, and the Packers did a very nice job on Barkley until the end of the game, then if you have one-on-one coverage outside, you are instructed for 20 years, 30 years in the NFL, you throw the football. And Jalen has to have the confidence to give A.J. and Devontae and Goddard and Jahan Dotson now a chance to win those 50-50 balls. So that, other than stacking the box, Merrill, I'm not sure what you do. Maybe run some more games up front. I don't know what you do to stop Saquon Barkley.
All right, back with Dave and Tim right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we are prouder than ever to partner with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chicky and Pete's has been named the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we continue to serve as the official caterer of both Eagles training camp and the official caterer of the First Trust Bank Club at Lincoln Financial Field. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
At Penn Community Bank, we're in the business of building thriving communities. That means breaking down the barriers to home ownership, supporting fair, affordable access to housing from Philadelphia to the Lehigh Valley, like our Home Opportunity Mortgage that empowers eligible borrowers with no minimum credit score, no down payment, access to grant programs, and so much more. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/home for more details. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Along with Tim McManus of ESPN, and Dave, what have you?
Merrill, I've got a couple questions, actually a couple comments that we've gotten from our fans here listening. Brian Haney says, go Birds. He's enjoying the show. Brian Chase wants to know this, Merrill. The best quarterback the Eagles have ever obtained from the L.A. Rams franchise.
Norm Van Brocklin.
Ooh.
Norm Van Brocklin was the quarterback in 1960 who won the World Championship.
Okay, so name the other two quarterbacks the Eagles have acquired from the Los Angeles Rams
okay,
franchise.
so now I would say the best in modern history from the Rams would be Ron Jaworski.
Okay, and the other?
The Polish Rifle, they called him.
And the other quarterback?
And the other quarterback from the Rams would be...
Roman Gabriel?
Oh, Roman Gabriel, of course.
Yeah.
Roman
Gabriel. How about that pipeline?
Roman Gabriel was a great quarterback, but had mediocre success. He was not here with great teams, and he did well. I mean, he was a wonderful quarterback and a wonderful guy. But the reason I said Norm Van Brocklin is because he won the World Championship.
Okay, fair. Merrill, it's time now for this week's injury review brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689. That's 215-806-3689. Injury update. We are all saddened to see a young man who's a great guy. You know, he's a very cooperative, hardworking, appreciative, understands our jobs. Nakobe Dean out for the rest of the season with reportedly a torn patellar tendon. I don't know if there's any ancillary damage to him or collateral damage.
But they say that's the kind of injury that could have him miss part of next season.
Yes, and so we wish him the very best of luck. Vic Fangio, Eagles defensive coordinator today, suggesting that both Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Oren Burks would step in potentially a rotational role or shared role, replacing Nakobe Dean, who had a really good game against the Rams back in November.
Yeah, he did. But I think Trot is a bright young player. In fact, he was asked about his future, and Vic Fangio said his future may be now.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to get some snaps based off what Fangio said today. But that Dean loss, you could feel that in the locker room afterwards. Not only just the Georgia guys like Nolan Smith, who was really feeling it in that moment, but Darius Slay said during his session, he's like, if I could take my C and give it to anybody that doesn't have one, it would be Nakobe Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And, just being around him, like I've always felt like he has a little bit of D'Amico Ryans in him from a leadership perspective, and he was able to put that together by staying healthy for the majority of this year. And the way that he can diagnose and attack is something that was really absent, I think, when he left that game last week, and something that they're going to miss.
It's interesting to hear that comparison to D'Amico Ryans, because I don't know Nakobe well enough to compare him to D'Amico, who I knew for quite a while. And I've had some conversations with him, but they've been brief and fleeting. But D'Amico has turned out to be an outstanding coach.
Yeah, he's absolutely, yeah. And you could just sort of feel that when you were around him in the locker room in Philadelphia.
Goodness.
You're like, he's gonna, he's got a special quality. You can understand why people gravitate to him. And so that's a big comparison for Nakobe, but that's just my honest feeling. Like, when I'm around him, I'm like, that it kind of feels like D'Amico to me.
We spent 8 hours together one day, D'Amico and me, shooting Wendy Baconator commercials, doing a video, doing an audio, and doing a photograph that was made into a cutout with me and D'Amico standing holding Wendy Baconators in every Wendy's in the market. But what a great guy he was. He never got tired. He took instruction well, and anything you wanted, he met with good humor, and he never, ever got tired of it.
And you felt it was very similar when he went down with his injury.
Oh, my goodness.
How it just
He had an
a
ACL,
profound,
right?
profound impact. Houston, I think it was, right? Is that where he got hurt?
Houston.
Yes.
Yeah, and just a guy that you knew had a future in this game. And I do feel the same way about Nakobe, who's always put forth great effort in the game, loves the game, appreciates the game, and hopefully has a very speedy recovery. But agreed that he will be lost. His loss will be impacted, and we'll see. See, this is where I think that Vic is such a great defensive coordinator. The Eagles lose that playmaking ability. How does he replace the production? And I think one of Vic's great secret sauces is understanding his players and where to put them on the field and where to put them within the context of the defense to make them most productive. And I see a lot of Trotter having the same characteristics as a D'Amico Ryans, as a Nakobe Dean.
How about as a Jeremiah
As a Jeremiah
Trotter?
Even more, though. I mean, like a 4 o'clock game when the Eagles played the Giants, it was the 1 o'clock game. 1 o'clock game, Eagles played the Giants. The first person in NovaCare as a player was Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and I know that because I had to go really early to the office. He is always there, and I just feel like
he was at NovaCare on a game day?
That's where they eat the pregame meal.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so they eat the
See,
pregame
I didn't
meal.
know that.
Yeah, they eat
that's what makes you Mr. Insider,
and you're
I'm
Mr. Outsider.
Outsider.
Right. The pregame meal is at
no
NovaCare,
idea.
and then they stay at the hotel in South Philly, and then they have their Saturday night meal and connection and meetings are all at NovaCare on Saturday night. They go back to the hotel, they sleep at the hotel, and then they come to NovaCare on Sunday, have their pregame meal, and then drive over to the stadium.
That is amazing how you know that.
That's not really
Where
that
do
amazing.
I have my pregame meal?
You can have your pregame meal anywhere. If you'd like to have your pregame meal at NovaCare, Merrill, you can too.
No, my pregame meal is at home.
Okay.
Cindy makes pancakes, and that's the last time I eat until the game is over.
That sounds pretty nice.
It's true. I mean, I sit in the in the cafeteria with you guys, but I don't eat.
You have fruit on the pancakes, Merrill?
Yeah, what is it? What kind of pancakes are they, Merrill?
I'm glad you asked. She makes apple cinnamon pancakes
Ooh.
with a little butter and syrup.
Okay.
That sounds
very
nice.
good.
One reason that I'm fascinated about this matchup is because of the fact of they're going to be without Nakobe Dean, right? So now you have Trot and Oren Burks in there, and you saw last week as soon as Nakobe Dean left, that middle of the field got attacked a little bit.
Yeah.
Burks got attacked a little bit. Josh Jacobs started getting the ball more on the swing routes and in the run game. And now you have Sean McVay, who's going to be very aware and is a great schemer, an adjuster going up against Vic Fangio, who has proven to be, arguably the best schemer defensively in the game. So that's, just from a chess match standpoint, it's going to be fantastic.
It's amazing what a difference a year makes. Thinking about the Eagles' defensive coordinator and defensive situation 1 year ago when they were still alive in the playoffs, having Matt Patricia clean up for Sean Desai, and the Eagles players literally running into each other in the playoff loss at Tampa. And now Vic Fangio, who you have the most confidence in you could possibly have in somebody who absolutely knows that Sean McVay, with all that pre-snap motion, is going to try to put Burks and Trotter in precarious situations and take advantage of them. And I feel very confident that Vic will have a good answer.
Now, while the Eagles have a 65-year-old defensive coordinator, the Rams have a 38-year-old defensive coordinator. And do you know what his name is?
Shula.
Chris Shula, who is the grandson of the great Don Shula, the winningest coach in the history of the NFL. And the interesting thing about that is his father is David Shula. David Shula was rumored to be the next head coach of the Eagles when Marion Campbell was about to leave.
Oh, interesting.
And Norman Brayman was a good friend of Don Shula, and he was going to give David Shula, who had played briefly for the Baltimore Colts then, that opportunity. And then things fell apart. But his dad was almost the head coach of the Eagles.
So Shula's doing a really nice job. We all know the last time that the Eagles and Rams played, Saquon Barkley went for 255 yards, 300 all-purpose yards. I mean, he just went crazy. But check out the points allowed since then, right? So we'll take out Week 18 because they rested their starters against the Seahawks. All right, so the Vikings last night, 9 points. The Cardinals, 9 points. The Jets, 9 points. The 49ers, 6 points. The Saints, 14 points. The only outlier was against the Buffalo Bills, where they allowed 42 points, but that was a win.
But they scored 44 points.
Whoa. Tell me which of those offenses is any good at all.
Well, I mean, the Vikings were a good offense for the better part of the year,
they were.
right? I mean, they were a good one.
In L.A.
And, I mean, none of these are, to your point, they're not, like, crazy good. The Cardinals had their moments with Kyler Murray.
Sure.
You know, the 49ers were injury-stricken. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, but it's still what it is.
No,
what
it's
it
still
is.
impressive
Not that,
when you're holding them to single digits.
And maybe I'm just not buying it on the Rams. I think they're a good team, but I'm not buying that their defense is all of a sudden, after giving up 300 and whatever it was, 14 rushing yards against the Eagles, are all of a sudden this great defense.
Well, they're a lot better today than they were then.
We'll see.
We'll see.
On the road, short week in Philly, all the stuff that's going on in L.A., we shall see.
Are they coming to Philadelphia early, or where are they practicing?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a great question. I've not heard anything internally.
Because they went back to Los Angeles.
I don't know where they would come to the East Coast and practice. You're not practicing outdoors anywhere.
Yeah. You know, they had, coming to Los Angeles, they brought 400 people, 2 dogs and 1 cat. Yeah. They had all the families come from Los Angeles to Arizona all week. 400 people, 2 dogs, 1 cat. So, but no hamsters. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them. Like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO today. Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for AutoPay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And it is time now for this week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game. The key to your financial future is Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com. All right, David, you can give the first key to the game. Tim McManus of ESPN, you can give the second key of the game, and I will bat cleanup.
All righty. Merrill, I think, guys, this is no surprise after watching the Rams sack Sam Darnold 9 times. It is clear that the Eagles must win at the line of scrimmage and do a good job against the Jared Verses and Byron Youngs and the depth that the Rams have up front, the pass rush that they bring. And so I think giving Jalen Hurts a clean pocket is my key to the game.
Tim.
Physicality. That's the one thing that stood out for this Eagles season all year, and in that game against the Rams in particular. And even from the wide receiver position, A.J. Brown up against Darius Williams, he just couldn't hang with them. So you have a 5'9" cornerback that just can't contain a powerful wide receiver like that. You saw Kyron Williams get the ball knocked out of his hands because they were physical with that, and obviously they were very physical at the line of scrimmage, taking a young, talented defensive line for the Rams and really just kind of owning them, honestly.
I will add this, and we call it in tennis unforced errors. Do not commit unforced errors. By that I mean offsides, ineligible receiver downfield, illegal motion, illegal procedure. You see it time and time again. What happens to teams is they start a drive, and they're doing well, and all of a sudden they get that 5-yard penalty, and everything goes down the drain. In fact, early in the season, when the Eagles weren't scoring in first quarters, they would start well, and somehow or other there would be something happen at the line of scrimmage, and they'd be moving back. Somebody in the neutral zone, somebody in motion early. You do those things, and it tears your offense apart.
And the sign of a very well-coached team, the Rams, I believe, are the least penalized team in the NFL, 5.1 penalties per game. So they've done a very good job with that. But I also think that, again, statistics, there's a million of them, it always comes down to turnovers, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
It really, really does. And you cited it earlier, Merrill. The turnaround to this football team this season can be traced to one statistic and one statistic that matters more than anything.
Turnovers.
And that's turnover ratio.
Look, go back to Los Angeles on November 24th. The Rams got the ball first, and they moved downfield, all the way downfield, and finally there was a turnover.
Isaiah Rodgers, big play.
That was the turnover.
Yep.
That changed the entire tempo of that game. What changed this game last Sunday? A fumble on the opening kickoff, and then strike to Jahan Dotson, and they were off and running. That is the thing. And also with a good team, with a good team, get the lead and then build on it. Don't play from behind.
Agreed.
Those are keys.
Merrill, this is why you're Merrill Reese. You succinctly broke it down so that everyone can understand what they're watching on Sunday.
All right, if you say, I just think I'm Merrill Reese because they didn't name me Carol Reese. All right. Anyhow, here we go. The games this week. Let's pick them, and you can have a little time.
Let's back up and tell all of our close followers what happened last week. In the
we
first
were
round.
both 3-2 in the 5 games. So on the season, I am now 62-36, and Dave is 60-38.
Okay.
So with 2 points per game,
this is coming down to the wire.
Coming down to the wire.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody think Houston has a chance against Kansas City?
Not I.
Not I.
I'm not going against the Chiefs. I mean, the Texans, although I didn't think they'd be in this round, the way that their season was going.
It is interesting that the Chiefs always seem to make it more difficult. Will they make it difficult on Saturday against a Texans team that's tired, that emotionally spent after their big win on Saturday? I mean, the Chiefs are well rested. They're at home. The Chiefs are out of the dome. I would expect the Chiefs to win big.
You know, Patrick Mahomes is probably by unanimous votes the best quarterback in the National Football League and a surefire Hall of Famer. But he did not have a great year.
Agreed.
Too many turnovers, and he's not an All-Pro this year.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you notice, though, the Chiefs, when they get into the postseason, their defense really rises up as well. And if you watch the Houston at all this year, you saw that their offensive line was not giving C.J. Stroud a whole lot of time. So you could see a scenario where the Chiefs' defensive line just takes that game over.
And the Chiefs do not beat themselves. They do not commit penalties. They do not turn the football over. They do not lose in the fourth quarter of games. They find ways to win, and that's why they're going for their third straight Super Bowl.
Okay, Washington at Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I love the story, and Jaden Daniels is an exciting young player, and he's very, very good, and the Eagles are going to have to deal with him for a long time, but I've got to go with Detroit in this game with the rest, with the dome, with the offense that they have. I'm just not convinced that Washington can score and keep pace with Detroit.
You just wonder at some point, all the injuries on defense for Detroit, is it going to catch up to them? I just don't think it's going to be this week. As dynamic as Jaden Daniels has been, I just don't think from a personnel standpoint, from top to bottom, they're well equipped enough to beat what has been arguably the best team in football this year.
Okay.
And who did you take, Merrill?
Washington shocks the world and moves to the NFC Championship game.
We'd love it. We would all love it if they would come to Philadelphia.
And it would be here. Well,
we would love that.
Well, they also have to beat the Rams for that to happen. Yeah. All right. This is a great game. Great game. How about Baltimore at Buffalo?
I am shocked that Baltimore's favorite. I just love I love Buffalo at home. I am not getting on the Lamar Jackson train until he wins a game like this, and therefore I'm going with the Buffalo Bills.
How about you, Tim?
I'm going to go with the Bills as well. I mean, I do feel like Lamar Jackson's breakthrough is coming. He's been an MVP multiple times over.
The way he ran 5 times in a row.
Yeah, but Buffalo just feels like a team that could be holding the Lombardi at the end of it.
Okay.
And Merrill, who are you taking in this game?
I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking Buffalo. And the same reason you are. Lamar Jackson is absolutely the MVP, absolutely spectacular, and absolutely reckless.
Absolutely the MVP over Josh Allen.
I think so this year. That's my pick.
Okay.
All right, and finally, we don't usually do it, but we're going to pick the Eagles and the Rams. Now, Dave, I dare you to pick the Rams.
Who would ever pick? I'll go out on a limb and take the Eagles here.
All right, Tim.
So I'm not exactly where Dave is. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I do feel like their defense has improved, but can you switch the fact of the Eagles are just more physical at the offensive line against that D-line. That, like, the defensive line for the Rams can't all of a sudden get bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
They're very active, and they're very good, and they're also very young, and they're not big guys. I agree.
So I
Come
think
on.
Yeah, so Saquon Barkley's going to do what he did, not to the same extent, but I think he's the difference.
And Merrill, who are you taking?
Well, I'm taking the Birds.
Okay.
There is no question about that. So we have come to the end of this fascinating show.
So we have one change. We have one game, 2 points on the line.
Yep.
We're taking Washington to Detroit.
I want to.
I hope you're right.
Tim, you are a great guest.
Tim.
A great guest.
Wonderful fun.
And very affordable. we thank you for joining us. In absence of George Forster, PGA, Pro Football Report's executive producer now, tonight, was Carol Bogdan, PhD. So for all of us, we thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone.
Go Birds!
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.
There's no place like home. Your station in Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer counties. 1490